Sir, I need to know where I can get some business hammocks.
Hammocks? My goodness, what an idea. Why didn't I think of that? Hammocks! Homer, there's 4 places. There's the Hammock Hut. That's on 3rd.
Uh-huh.
There's Hammocks R Us. That's
it.
on 3rd, too. You got Put Your Butt There.
Mm-hmm.
That's on 3rd.
Yeah.
Swing Low, Sweet Chariot.
Right.
Matter of fact, they're all in the same complex. It's the Hammock Complex down on 3rd.
Oh, the Hammock District.
TBTL.
Are you on the internet? Isn't that for techno geeks with spreadsheets?
You know, what happened next was, they'd open their mouth, they'd speak, they'd get laughed at, they'd get called Polacks.
I'm not very good with chit-chat. I like a structured communication. I like a hard out. Chit, chat. Oh, chit. Where are we going with that?
That was great. That was good. You went for it. I appreciate that.
Mike, if they do good, put it on YouTube. If they do bad, cancel it.
All right, hello, good morning, and welcome everyone to a Monday edition of TBTL, the show that just might be too beautiful to live.
Another day, another victory for the OG, taking down the sweats, the imposters among us.
My name's Luke Burbank. I am your host.
You paint your bald spot?
What bald spot?
Coming to you from the Madrona Hill studio, perched high above the mighty Columbia, where it's raining today on the...
Didn't know you like to get wet, though.
On June 27th, in the year of our Lord, 2026. Yeah, it was like, it's rainy all weekend. I mean, what the heck? What the helly? What the actual? Who is inside because it's raining outside are the dogs. Yes, they are still here, Gigi and DJ. They're inside helping supervise the podcast today. Actually, DJ is staring out the window, out the sliding glass door, so unbelievably bored, while Gigi is just staring right at me, waiting for me to do something interesting here on episode 4759 in a collector's series.
Let the fun begin.
I can't promise that. I can tell you that over the weekend we had an event that was too interesting for my liking. Gigi the dog got onto the roof of the house.
You gotta be kidding me.
And it was slightly terrifying. We'll get into it. Also, time permitting, we'll talk about a new feature that the Criterion Collection has put out. It is an entire short film made up of people waiting while the audio engineer is getting room tone.
So who needs a movie?
It's sort of an anti-movie movie. And I was watching a lot of it this morning on the internet, so we may talk about that. We'll definitely say hello to this guy, longest-running Cobra of the show, maybe best known for his depictions of the tall ships, something you might not know about the beginnings of our friendship.
We met on a BFF app.
He's Andrew Walsh. He is joining me right now. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Luke. Thank you for the pre-show therapy. I needed it.
Sure.
Listeners don't know that. I came in real hot, and we spent about, literally a half hour. Luke just administered talk therapy to me as I'm dealing with some stressors in my life. And some shock therapy. That was an accident, though. I just reached over and tried to demute myself while I was coughing, and I just something went right through. Yeah, but I do appreciate that. Absolutely. I feel a lot better. I came into the studio today feeling real jangly, but I'm a little bit calmer now. Thank you.
Well, good. I'm glad that we were able to process a little bit of that, or sometimes just talking about stuff is halfway towards feeling a little bit less stressed about it. And also, I think it was smart because a couple of the topics were things that you did not want to discuss on the show.
Right.
But if we don't pre-discuss them, if we don't get them out of your system or my system, they will somehow have a way
exactly
of bubbling up and coming onto the show almost as if they have a sort of a free will of their own.
It is so true. You and I are very similar in that way. I think it speaks to the type of show this is, right? And it's like, how many times will I be, it's like, you're like, okay, let's wrap this show up. We've been going for about an hour and 15 minutes. And then I'm like, by the way, something happened to me at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, dial up the theme music again, because now we're getting into the real thing that was on my mind the whole time. And I'm not trying to be withholding to the listeners here. Just a couple of things going on. Nothing health-related. Had, just some stuff going on this weekend that we were talking about. But do appreciate that. I will say this. Everything that I did encounter this weekend never involved a dog on a roof. Now, a lot of the stuff I dealt with this weekend involved dogs. I had a lot of fun with dogs this weekend.
Roof dogs, though.
But no roof dogs. Please Tell me.
Did you see the photo that I sent you?
No, I've been waiting. Was a jetpack involved?
Only because Gigi does not. It's all right, Deej. Have FAA clearance to operate the jetpack anymore. This was good old fashioned. This was just a good old fashioned caper.
I'm looking now. I don't like that at all. I don't like that at all. That is a big poodle standing right on the edge of a roof.
It gets worse.
Were the Blue Angels flying overhead?
No. I could have used their help, though. Could have had some. Can someone throw down a line for this dog? So, Becca's brother, Scott, came over on Saturday and brought their dog, Lulu, because his wife was out of town. She was on this fun trip to Italy, so he was kind of bacheloring it up and had the dog and was helping out with a charity event in Vancouver, Washington, not too far from where I live. And so the plan was for him to come out and hang out, and he did, and we had a really fun time. But, like, I didn't realize this, but these dogs are very energetically kind of sensitive. Not so much DJ. DJ is just kind of unfazed. DJ is just kind of happy-go-lucky and, comes when you call her. If you're like, hey, okay, we're going over here now, she just says, sure. If you say, we're going to chill out right now, and we're going to watch, like, 4.5 hours of documentary movie about a guy named Dean Potter, like I did last night accidentally. She's like, cool, that's what we're doing. Gigi is different. Gigi is can be very skittish, can be very easily kind of like if she gets out and gets loose and you're trying to like walk towards her with a leash, she's going to always back up a little bit and make sure that she's keeping some space between you and her so you can't grab her. She will never come to you if you're like, hey, Gigi, come over here, because she's not food motivated. She's kind of on her own wavelength. She may be on some sort of a spectrum for dogs, it would appear. But anyway, so I think when Scott and Lulu came over, it energetically shifted everything in the house, which I know sounds kind of insane, but I think it's kind of true because for the whole week it was me and these two dogs, and we really had kind of a system going. Like the chi was balanced, the flow, everything was harmonic in the house. And then we have these two new people in there. And actually, Scott said to me later on, he was like, every time I see Gigi, it takes her a couple of hours to kind of just adjust to me being in the room
just
or whatever.
The human, not the human and his dog.
Maybe a little bit Lulu, but I mean, what Scott was saying, literally, like,
Scott.
Gigi's always just a little bit kind of like, her energy is a little hesitant or whatever. So
who is that who's talking to you right now? I see somebody is nosing
DJ.
in. That's DJ.
So this
Hi,
is
DJ.
DJ's favorite. I don't know if you can kind of see. DJ,
Hi, DJ.
This is DJ's deal. She likes to come over and put her head on my lap when I'm like doing this show. It's very sweet.
Does she have also, a little bit of a gray muzzle? Is she
she does.
Slightly
These
older
dogs
dog?
are not young, by the way. Actually, I don't know the exact ages. I know that Gigi is older than she might appear because she's very she's still, I don't know, she just, for whatever her age is,
I extended the screen I'm watching you on. Now I see them both. Gigi's just standing behind you, just starkly.
That's typical.
Well, okay, yeah.
That's typical. She's a real kind of, she's a real middle distance starer.
Okay, all right.
Into the middle distance.
And then you got
this is kind of,
DJ
this has been the scene for the last week or whatever. But so here's what I wasn't expecting, because we've been on a real, we've really got our whole thing dialed in here. So I'm sorry this is so complicated, but this does involve how she got on the roof. So Scott's coming over. He's going to stay the night. So I'm going upstairs, and I'm kind of making sure that I'm changing the sheets, and I'm getting the room kind of set up. And there's the room down at the end of the hall where Scott's gonna spend the night. But then there's
I apologize. You really gotta pet DJ. Like,
there is no end to this. We could do this for the next 24 straight hours.
I watched you take your hand off of her head, and she just got closer to you. Like I am advocating for DJ right
What's
now.
really funny about these dogs is, and it just has something to do with their. Do you remember that meme that was like a dog with some crazy fur that was like looking out a window with its eyes almost closed a little bit, and it was like, "My husband, when will he return from sea?"
Of course, yes.
It does look like a kind of like a Gloucester widow wishing for her husband who was never going to come home to come back from from his watery grave. These dogs unintentionally do that face all the time, and it's never not funny to me. If you look at my phone right now, it is hundreds, if not thousands, of pictures of their faces when they're doing that. When you're giving them like a head scratch, and they're just doing a full like. Their eyes are kind of closed. They look either really stoned or really like, when my husband, when will he return from sea?
Blissed out. Okay,
I'm getting the upstairs set up. there's this other bedroom upstairs, which is where when Walt is over here helping out, that's where he typically sleeps. And that room has a couple of windows, and they don't have window screens on them. And because it's the upstairs of this house the ceilings are pretty low. It was, built in the 1930s. It also means that the windows are kind of low to the ground. They're maybe 2-3 feet off the ground instead of like a typical window when you walked into a house. So anyway, I opened those windows just to kind of air out the upstairs and kind of make it a little bit nice and more inviting or whatever. This isn't even the room that Scott is going to be sleeping in. It's just, I don't know. I just wanted to get maximum airflow and make things kind of nice up there. So they get over, we're hanging out. Now, Gigi goes upstairs all the time when it's me and DJ and Gigi. Sometimes she likes just to go up there and, I don't know, hang out. Maybe she's just kind of overstimulated or something. What I did not expect was, as we're sitting there, Scott and I are sitting there in the living room, we're chatting. 2 of the dogs are downstairs. We hear somebody walking right above our heads. And Scott goes, "Is there a dog on the roof?" And I was like, no, that's the upstairs of the house. And he goes, "I'm pretty sure that's the roof." He was right. You would think I would understand the basic architecture of this home, having lived here now for a while and having torn it completely apart with my father and rebuilt it. And yet, it hadn't occurred to me. It's because it was such an insane concept that the dog could be on the roof that my brain couldn't even consider the possibility. So I am like, well, let me see. And I go outside, and that's when I snap that picture that I sent you, Andrew, because
terrifying.
Because yes, in fact, Gigi had gone upstairs. She had gone into the bedroom that the door happened to be open. She had gone out the window and onto the roof.
So the window kind of, so you have one part of the roof is very peaked, but then what do you call this style of kind of roof where the room sort of
it's a
juts
dormer,
up?
technically.
A dormer, okay, yeah. And
so
you have windows there with no screens, I take it.
Yeah, because the screens these windows are actually going to get replaced.
Oh, okay.
And so the screens were really cruddy. Like, these are the windows that were in this house when I bought it. It's one of the few things that I haven't replaced yet. And so the screens were just kind of gross and unsightly. And also, generally speaking, these rooms aren't even in use most of the time. So for probably aesthetics, I took the screen off or something. It also just never occurred to me that the dog could, that any animal would think to do this. Like, it was so then I'm kind of like, Scott is like a little bit, he's kind of nervous about this. He's like, okay, I want to I can tell that he's a little bit like, this could go south. And I'm
especially if he is somebody who the dog is skittish around. Like, that's kind of smart,
precisely.
right?
I don't think I was giving that enough sort of credit, if you will. But I kind of thought it was funny because I thought, well, it was because I just figured she'd just go back through the window eventually. Like, I figured she had some self-preservation. In fact, this is a video that I made. It's very short, but this is me filming Gigi on the roof. And you can hear in my voice that I kind of think it's kind of a little bit. What are you doing? Have you lost your damn mind? So I'm just kind of like, at that point, I just think this is funny and silly that she has done this. Then the problem is I go upstairs to the bedroom to try to get her out, and I, reach out the window, and she does exactly what she typically does if you were on terra firma, like I was telling you. Like, if you're trying to get her with a leash or something, and you start to walk towards her, she just kind of backs up, and she's so much faster than I am, even at her advanced age, that like she could always keep a buffer. Like, I'm never going to be able to catch her. Like, she's doing that on the roof now. This is more audio. This is me. Now I'm leaning out of the window of the bedroom, trying to get her to come over to me. I don't want to get out on the roof, A, because it might not be safe for me, and B, because I don't want to spook her. So I now have both bedroom windows open wide, and I'm trying to just kind of entice her to come hang out with me. And well, Gigi has officially figured out a way to stay at arm's length. I'm mostly making these videos to send to Becca, obviously, because again, I'm still in this mode where I think this is just kind of like a funny, weird story. It sounds like the name of an Oliver Sacks book. The dog who lived on the roof.
Mm-hmm.
The man who mistook his poodle for a sentient being. So Scott's like, oh, what are we going to do? And I'm like, well, what we're going to do is we're just going to leave both of the windows open so that she can get back in. We're going to come downstairs, and we're just going to go about the rest of our afternoon. And at some point, she's going to get bored, and she's going to come back, and she's going to climb through the window and come back into the house.
And you said you specifically said before she's not food motivated, so it's not even like, oh, I'll leave a thing of treats here at the window.
There is nothing that I could think of. I mean, look, Andrew, if you switch back to the camera, look where she's standing. She's like,
just a little bit out of.
She will do this. Okay, well, she will do.
I got it. No, I got it. I see you.
She will do this for literally 4 hours.
She's standing, I'm going to say about 4 feet behind you, just standing stark still and staring at you. Now, one thing that is, I don't want to get you off track too much, but like before this particular dog sitting situation with you, you have been with Gigi. I don't know if I'm hitting those G's right. With Gigi before, without a second dog in the picture. And I've never heard about, aside from that time that you and Becca were walking Gigi on the beach and she kind of got out and got into some woman's yard. Aside from that, I'd never heard any kind of misgivings you had about her other than being like kind of sweet. Was she like this even when she was sort of solo with you, like always a little bit out of reach? Like she is staring at you in a way that like Jordan Peele would write this character into a book, right? She's standing right behind you and just staring at you and has been for 5 or 10 minutes now.
She's in the sunken place.
Yes.
The usual progression of things when it's just me and her is for the first day or something, she's kind of like a little bit just trying to take it all in and like, you know, kind of maybe standing a little bit far away. But then if I was like sitting on the, you know, if I was sitting on the couch watching TV, she might come over and like rest her head on me or whatever. It's kind of hard to predict what she will do. But I thought also having DJ here was a good thing because DJ is so normal and well-adjusted. I kind of thought, well, if Gigi gets loose, having DJ here as a kind of an emotional support dog for her could be good because Gigi might want to come back and hang out with the two of us. Like she might want to be around the family unit, that being me and DJ. So I thought there was a better chance of getting, if she got loose or something, a better chance of getting her back knowing that DJ, who she loves, is here. And that has been generally the case, which is to say they both have seemed pretty kind of chill and well-adjusted. And again, we've got all of our systems. We take our little walks. I've got them on these tethers, you know. We've got a whole schedule going here now, and it's all been kind of working. I just think something energetically shifted to where she was like just a little bit kind of, I don't know, freaked out for some reason and decided to go upstairs and to go into the bedroom and to go out the window and then to stand on the roof. Well, so Scott and I are sitting down in the living room again, and we're just kind of like chilling, and I'm like, the thing is, I think that dogs have kind of a sense of self-preservation that like they would understand that like if you're trying to get off this roof and there's a window that you can go back through, if there's something that you can go back through that you have just used, or jumping off the roof, your brain is going to tell you that the jumping off the roof is dangerous. Like, and I wonder about this a lot with Bubbles, the cat, who I have limited visitation rights with, because Becca has a balcony. And we always want to leave the door open because it's nice and ventilated and all that, but we're worried about Bubbles going out there and climbing because it's like on a very high floor of this high rise, and worried about Bubbles going out there and falling off the balcony. And it raises this question, or it's kind of like, do you think a cat that's never, a cat that's never been 15 stories above the pavement, do they understand instinctively that that's that way lies death,
or danger? See,
that's danger. I don't know the answer. We're too afraid to risk it, basically.
Right. Of course. Now, here's the deal. I don't know dogs that well or dog behavior, so just take everything I say with a grain of salt, or the acknowledgement that I don't know what I'm talking about, and I understand that. But for me, I sort of understand where you're coming from with this. Like, I am more worried about cats. Like, I'm more worried about cats getting into situations that they can't get out of. Because now I do think cats have a sort of a good, would it be a homing mechanism? Like, I do think that cats can like kind of map the area, and if they leave the house and get a little bit lost, or you feel like they're lost in the neighborhood, I feel like they know where home is. And I feel like probably, I don't know if we feel the same way about dogs, but I feel like a cat, though, can get up a tree and not get back down. Classic fireman stuff right there, right? As my grandma one time said, oh, yeah, my grandma one time in her life tried to lie to us, and she said, oh, yeah, got up in the tree, and the fire truck came, and it was ringing its bell. And me and my sister are like, it's 1994. They don't have bells anymore. Anyway, so like cats.
There was 4 Dalmatians
right. So
driving the fire truck.
But my point is, like, cats classically get into situations they can't get themselves out of. Like, I think they can find their way home, but they can also they keep climbing up things. Whereas dogs don't naturally do that. And so I would be more worried about a cat, like, at the edge of a roof looking down and being like, I think I can do this. Whereas I would expect a dog to be like, well, I do not have a jumping instinct like this, like a cat might. So I will find my way back in.
I was just foolishly, it would turn out, I was just foolishly confident that self-preservation would kick in, and that she would eventually get bored and just come back through the window and come downstairs or whatever. And boy, was I wrong, because I was sort of in the chair looking one direction. Scott's looking past me, and I just see this look on his face.
Oh, no.
As Gigi has decided to jump from the roof, we think, to the deck, which is, now listen, that's like, I want to say that's like 8 feet. It's not, thankfully, it's not 30 feet. It's not, she decided to jump. Again, it's unclear if she jumped onto the deck or if she jumped over the deck onto the grass. It's also unclear which would have been a better thing for her to do, because on the one hand, it's further down to the grass, but it's softer.
So, Scott, you're seeing his eyes get wide because he just saw
saw the shape
drop.
of a standard poodle go past the window.
No.
Yes. Absolutely.
I did not. I've been on the edge of my seat, but I did not think that the dog actually. I did not think this is how the story ended.
The dog jumped off the roof.
Jeez Louise.
Gigi Louise.
Gigi
I believe
Louise.
is the proper exclamation there. She jumped off the roof. Again, I think she landed on the deck, because I have this weird sense memory of like hearing a thump on the deck, but also that could just be something crazy my brain did, because I actually wasn't watching it happen. What I know is I jumped out of my chair. I ran outside. She, by that time, was up. She had gotten into the yard. That's why it's unclear to me if she jumped on the deck and then ran around, or if she jumped into the yard. But like, first thing that happened that was a great relief was I saw that she was running with her normal gait.
Yes.
She was not limping.
Yeah.
She was not like, you know what I mean? She just looked like, she looked absolutely unfazed.
Mm-hmm.
She was just prancing along in the yard per her regular ass behavior. So that was like the first thing that happened that I was like, okay, thank goodness. That's one thing. But now she's just loose, and I'm thinking she's probably kind of shaken up from just the whole thing. So she's now out in the yard loose, having jumped off the roof. So I do the only thing I know how to do, which is I run and I open the back of my car. Because Gigi, for all of her craziness, loves riding in the car, which is strange. She's a very skittish dog at times. You'd think that would be like, I don't know, claustrophobic for her or whatever. No, she loves it. I open the back door of my car, the back hatch, and sure enough, boom, she jumps right in.
Good
and then I close the back hatch as quickly as possible. So we've got her contained. She's off the roof. She appears to be moving normally, and she is contained. But
and she, by the way, she is still standing stark still behind you, staring directly at the back of your head and into the camera, just standing, not sitting.
Yes.
I want to let everybody know, like one of the twins in The Shining. She maintains her distance, just standing behind you.
She doesn't. Now, if I stood up and if I grabbed her leash, she'd start twirling. She'd be so excited when she saw that, like, oh, we're going outside. So she does demonstrate excitement and emotion, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
In fact, her favorite thing to do is like spin in circles. So like in the morning when I get up, they're both sleeping in the living room, and I open the door of my bedroom, I walk out into the living room, and they're both like tails wagging. Gigi is doing circles. I get the leashes. They're very excited. So she just demonstrates some sort of whatever. But so anyway, that's sort of, I mean, there's not a huge power out other than we, kind of checked her over. Scott went out and actually hung out in the car with her for a while to just kind of meld their energies a little bit and kind of give her, a check of like her joints and stuff to just make sure that she didn't seem, like she'd kind of sprained or broken anything, which she didn't. Eventually, I went back out there, and she was just kind of sitting, but she was really pushed up against she was in the back seat of the car, and she was kind of pushed up against the far window. And I just got in there and hung out with her for a while and gave her some pets and then got her on the leash and then got her out. And then got her inside, and she seems to be totally fine. We've been on now multiple walks since then. She's just back to her weird shining self. But
I have a couple of questions for you. One, at any point, or maybe even in hindsight, would it have made sense for Scott maybe to just like kind of make himself scarce for a little bit? Like if the energy got off in the house because instead of the three of you and the two dogs, but Scott and another dog, maybe that's what sort of, I mean, it was the opportunity of the open window, but also you said the energy was off. Maybe if Scott and his dog had just gone for a walk or whatever, and it's just like you and DJ puttering around the house for maybe a half hour, maybe Gigi would have come in. Or I think I said that wrong. You and DJ hanging out of the house, maybe Gigi would have come in.
You mean from the car?
No, I mean from the roof. I'm wondering if she took the jump off the roof because she just was a little bit on edge.
Good question. That would have felt like, I guess that would have been potentially an option. I also, it's like Lulu was downstairs. That's the other dog. Scott was downstairs. I guess maybe if they left and then I went up and told Gigi they were gone. Like
she doesn't hear their voices because, they
maybe
can pick up on that. But on the other hand, it must have been very helpful to you to have another human being there in case something did go sideways. I understand why you wouldn't want to do that, but that was just something
also,
I was
would have felt kind of rude. I also don't think I believed the energy thing until I saw until I saw a dog flying off of the roof.
Okay.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, in other words, I just kind of I certainly, that would have felt like a little much for me to say, hey, can you guys just be gone for a little while or something? But maybe that would have worked. I don't really know. It didn't take her very long to go from being on the roof to jumping. I want to say it was like under 5 minutes.
I thought you guys came downstairs and were hanging out for, I pictured like 20 minutes, a half hour. She's wandering around the roof.
It was actually quite fast, which was also kind of weird to me. I just figured, again, I've been around enough animals doing weird stuff that my experience is usually if you, like when Bubbles got inside the floor of this house.
Yeah.
And was like not coming out, like got in the basement, got into a weird little niche, like a little hole in the underside of the floor, so the basement ceiling, and then but was inaccessible from anywhere else. I don't know. Someone had probably cut this little hole for like plumbing purposes back in the day, and in that case, what I had to do was just wait. Well, first of all, I had to cut open a wall and then just wait for like 7 hours until she got bored and walked out, So my point was, I thought that this was going to resolve itself. I did not think it was going to be resolved from her jumping off the roof.
And I didn't realize in the telling that it happened in such quick succession.
Fast.
Now, so that sort of changes the color of this next question I want to ask, which I think is the most interesting one so far, is you were playing audio for us of videos that you took, and you said you were sending them to Becca. Just for people who, I don't know if you mentioned this at the beginning of this particular story, this is not Becca's dog. This is Becca's parents' dog, right?
Mom's
and
dog,
you're watching. And is DJ, and DJ
is Jeff and Darcy's
okay,
dog.
Right.
So everybody in this family basically pretty much has a standard poodle. It is the official dog of, they've had many too in the family. And so they had one named Zach, who was named for Balzac, the French writer. They've had Gigi, they've had Zach, they've had Jack, they've had DJ.
Oh, I see. There's a rhyming thing going on. So, okay, so you're recording these videos. Are you sending them to Becca in real time, or are you saving them and thinking, I will send these if this ends in a humorous way?
No, because at no time until she jumped off the roof did I understand the severity of the situation. I just didn't think.
Did Becca understand the severity? What is her reaction when you're sending these things?
She's kind of just like, you got to be kidding. Actually, I believe maybe I called her after Gigi had jumped off the roof and was okay. I think I might have started by saying like something like, I'm going to start by telling you the dog is fine, but this is what just happened. So maybe that was how the information was. But I was sending her the videos as I was making
them. When she gets this phone call, she already knows that you have a dog on the roof
I think she hadn't looked at the video yet. I think she had been doing something.
Okay,
so I think it was kind of like a kind of an information dump.
I see. So it wasn't, because I would be, so she probably didn't fully understand what was going on until the situation was already over. Because I was sort of curious if like, she's kind of like, okay, this isn't funny, or if she had your same attitude. Because it sounds like she's pretty chill. Like you were describing the walk you guys went on, and you said it was, you said it was Becca's idea to have Gigi go off leash that one time. Because I was kind of like wondering if you had if that was a real Burbankian idea that went south.
Well, that was something that I was when we let her off at the beach, and then she got into someone's yard, and then we couldn't catch her for a while. I think we mutually thought that, well, let's just test it out.
Yeah, because I asked you at the time, I was like, were you sort of like, was Becca sort of, tense about it? Because I just pictured you needling her into doing it. You said no, it was her idea.
I think it was probably her idea. Yeah. She's also capable of having bad ideas. Andrew. It doesn't have to all be the result of my needling.
I don't know her that well, but I do know you.
Yes, I know, and yes, most bad ideas that I'm involved in start with me. But yeah. So all of that is to say, we've now learned. Oh, the last thing too that's kind of nuts is. So we get her back in the house, and now, of course, I've gone upstairs. I've closed all of the windows, and we're just in the house. And then what does she do? We take the leash off her. She immediately goes back upstairs. And I'm having like an OCD kind of intrusive thought. I'm like saying to Scott, I'm like, I know that I just closed all the windows like 5 minutes ago, but I can't allow myself to fully believe it unless I go look at them again. Like I have to like look at them. I go upstairs. I look at them. They're closed. I come back downstairs. We're sitting there. 5 minutes later, maybe not even 5 minutes later, we hear a clank. And we're like, what the hell is going on? And we go upstairs, and Gigi is now just standing on the bed. She is standing on the bed in that
like
guest
she
room.
is now. She still hasn't moved. I want the listeners to know.
But she's like in that exact kind of posture, but she's just standing on the bed. And I think, what we deduced was the noise we heard was her trying to go back out the window, except it was closed. It was her head bonking onto the window glass because she probably doesn't understand the difference between open and closed. And she was trying to go right back out there.
That is interesting. That actually makes me feel a little bit better because it implies to me
that she kind of enjoyed the experience.
She enjoyed it, that it was a game she was playing, that she wasn't traumatized.
That's how I chose to interpret the behavior as well. Is that, in fact, I said something like that to Scott. I was like, well, clearly this wasn't that traumatizing because she is, it's like she's going on a water slide or something. Like, let me go do that again, as opposed to like jumps. As opposed to like, that was, near death for me, which it kind of was. Like, I mean, Scott pointed out that, there's a railing around the deck. So if she jumped down, and it's a metal railing, I mean, it's, it's protective for people to not fall off the deck. And if she would have gotten caught on that somehow instead of just landing flush on the deck, I mean, there's like a lot of ways it could have been even more upsetting. So lesson learned.
Yeah, absolutely.
No more open windows. Now, what is funny is the screen doors, because like here in the Madrona Hill studio, on the warmer days, I've had the I have the door open, but then there's a screen door, and I've got some screen doors in the house and stuff. That appears to be a barrier that they do not, that certainly Gigi in no way is trying to violate. Like she could just push right through a screen door if she wanted to.
Of course, yeah.
She somehow doesn't. Like she senses that is a barrier. She senses that's like, in other words, if there would have been screens on the windows, I don't think she would have even tried to push through them. She's very non-destructive.
Yeah.
But
I know that feeling though of, everything is fine, but you have to check it again. I'm that way more with Bingo. You'd think I'd be that way more with Lucy because not only is she newer to me, but the idea of having a dog in the house is newer to me. But cats, like I say, they get squirrely. Ironically, cats get squirrely and squirrels get catty, famously. But Bingo loves to find a little hole to hide himself in for a while. Like he's a very social cat, but also he's a cat. So every now and then he likes to go chill out. Like maybe it'll be in the dark recess of my closet in the basement. But he's got his spaces, right? Like there's a handful of them and we know where they all are. And every now and then you sort of like, you'll be, especially if I'm home alone, it'll just suddenly hit me, especially if I'm home alone and maybe smoking a little weed and playing some darts and you get that little paranoia. And you're like, I haven't seen Bingo in a while. Where is he? Then you check all of the spaces, and you're like, he's not in any of the spaces. And then you have this moment, and he's never gotten out. Like so far, knock on all the wood around you, listeners. Find wood, knock on it. Like he is so far has never gotten out. But I also take that as kind of a reality of cat ownership that cats get out sometimes, and he just would, old Mr. Theo. he was a big ass cat with an attitude, and if he got out, I always kind of would think, yeah, he could probably handle himself, at least in the neighborhoods we used to live in. But of course, now we have coyotes around here. In fact, Luke, I'm going to say what I said before the show. I don't know if it's too traumatic for folks to hear, but I won't go into detail.
If a dog jumping off a roof was sketchy for you to hear, what you're about to hear is much.
And I won't go into too much detail, but I will just say that one of the things that I was pretty upset about this morning is I found out that a dog that I love, that it belongs to a friend of mine who I volunteer with, is no longer with us because of a coyote incident this weekend, and it was that's as detailed as I'll go into it, but it's clearly very, very upsetting. And as somebody who is just, so deeply in love with my pets and care for my pets so much, and Luke, on certain nights, you go outside my house. We live near the cemetery where the coyotes live and have been breeding forever. Luke, one time I thought neighbors were having a party. I thought they were all doing something crazy. I thought they were all high on whippets or something until I realized, no, that's all the coyotes in the cemetery having a party. Like, there are so many coyotes where I live. And the thought of Bingo getting outside for even a small period of time is, I don't even know what I don't have a good word for how that makes my blood go icy.
Is that where the protective layer of broken down RVs actually comes in handy?
Yeah, right. Well, actually,
those are the castle walls that will keep the coyotes back at Evergreen, West Shelley, and not in your actual yard.
Yeah, or hopefully the maybe the hedges too. By the way, crazy weekend. Never pulled out the pole saw.
No,
hedges still going
the
crazy.
Whole thing you were excited about.
I'm wondering if I'm even going to get to that before the fawn. But anyway, I can easily convince myself that him getting outside the house is like a death sentence. And so if I have a moment where I can't have eyes on Bingo, then I'll put eyes on Bingo. But then it's like, I don't know, every now and then, like what was the word? Is it house burping? I like to sort of house burp sometimes where you put all the windows open, but everything has screens and stuff. But sometimes I will be like, well, Bingo's not here. I'm just going to open this door for a little bit, let some air in. And then you're like, wait a second though, did he get behind me? Did I, and the paranoia can just rack up, and like, I just have to like go around and put eyes on him to make sure he's still in the house. And again, he's bolted a couple of times. He really likes being outside. You have to keep an eye on him, otherwise he will try to jump out the door when you're coming and going, which we do all the time now that we have a dog. But luckily we haven't had any real scares. But man, even when they're just kind of like in your own head, those feelings, like you have to go, let me go look at that window again, let me touch that window, let me touch that thing.
Yes, I always wonder, like, if Bubbles ever ends up living out here full time again, how that will work. And also, if Bubbles gets out, because she's an extremely athletic cat. Like, she's a Bengal. She's like, can jump really high. I assume run fast by cat standards, and is very twitchy, is very like head on a swivel. And I just feel like, but she seems incredibly dumb. And I just wonder if, like, one of two things will happen. She would either immediately be snatched up by a coyote or a much bigger feral cat, or, she would either not be around much longer, or 2 or 3 years later, I would just be down walking around in the woods, and I would just see like her being carried aloft by all the other cats.
Yeah, right.
Like, she would be like
King
Marlon Brando in. She would basically be Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now. She would have become the leader of and the feared, boss of all of the woodland creatures around here.
Right.
She'd just be like bald in a cave, pouring water over her back, saying, the horror. It's only one of two things, though. That's the only two options. She's either gone in a moment, or she's now officially running this part of southern Washington.
Because you said there are feral cats around you, too. That you
gosh.
said one of them went in your house when you came home one time.
They're in the yard right now. I saw an orange one this morning when I was putting the girls out on the tether. I think they missed it. But like, wasn't doing a calculation until I started walking these two dogs in the neighborhood. And there's probably like 15 feral cats. It's because Gay feeds them, which I don't know. I don't have a big problem with. They're not harming me, but I didn't notice them until I had two dogs that were very interested in them and that they're very kind of like afraid of. Suddenly I was like, oh my God.
The cats are afraid of the dogs. And
the cats are afraid of the dogs. And so they just like, they'll be like laying somewhere I didn't even realize they were. And all of a sudden they're just like, basically you're activating them from as I'm walking up the road with these 2 dogs.
Yeah.
Everywhere I look, there's like a cat that I didn't see was there that's like skittering off because they're like afraid. And then the dog is like, oh, there's
And do the dogs sort of have that instinct to like kind of then kind of jump and pull up the leash?
Straining. They're doing some straining.
They do that, huh? Lucy is a little. It really depends with Lucy. I can't kind of tell. Like her when she sees another dog. Usually she's just, if she doesn't know that dog, she's usually just sort of curious. She just sort of stops and like will stare at the dog, but not like strain the leash or whatever. If she knows that dog and has met that dog and played with that dog before, she just goes berserk. And that's something that I'm having a lot of trouble, like kind of like calming her down. Because then when she gets like that, then and it's all friendly. She's just like wants to say hello to her friend, but she loses all control. And that's how she she starts jumping up on people. That's how she ended up scraping my neighbor's, arm and causing a boo-boo. I'm calling it a boo-boo for legal reasons now.
Yeah, exactly. They can't sue you if it's a boo-boo.
Right, exactly. So anyway, we took Lucy to our friends had a little birthday barbecue over at the Rodens this weekend. We mentioned my buddy Roden on the show quite a bit. Oh, by the way, for his birthday, I got him a bag full of materials to clean and maintain a chainsaw, by the way, because
that's pretty
I told you on the show last week that I was bummed that I had returned his chainsaw, and I did not realize that I had returned it in kind of a poor condition that I didn't realize, and that had led him to have a new rule of not loaning out tools. So anyway, I got him like some Simple Green and some machine lubricant and stuff. But anyway, we had a really good time. But we let Lucy off the leash. She just went absolutely crazy, running around like we had no control over it all. And like everybody else was more chill. They're like, she's a puppy. She's doing puppy things. Sort of. People were very kind, but also our friend was there with her dog, who is like a really good dog, and Poppy, and she can behave. But Poppy really has no interest in playing with Lucy. But Lucy doesn't understand that.
Now, had she drugged Poppy? Because when we were watching the football game at the Eagles, one of the Seahawks game, Poppy was being very chill in a stroller, but because Poppy had been dosed with something.
Yeah, no, but Poppy's good. Like Poppy was just I don't think so. Okay. She was just like chilling, but like Lucy has so much puppy energy, and now she's like at least 3 times the size of Poppy, I think. And so she's like, Lucy was just kind of being a terror. And again, everybody else was very chill about it. Some of the younger people there, they're like some of my friends' daughters were kind of a little bit put off by like just the energy. They couldn't kind of be around her a little bit, which has really sucked for me because I don't want to be the guy who's like bringing a shitty dog to a situation.
Well, what about all your click training? Are you guys saying away? How does that work? You're supposed to like click and then they don't. I mean, listen,
but she gets into the zonkers mode, and like there's just like she's like. And I think, believe it or not, I think she didn't have enough sleep. Like sometimes something happens where the dog does not get enough sleep, and then she's just like, it turns into a kind of energy, an uncontrollable energy. And, if I had her on the leash, she was just like trying to tear away from it in a way that, again, none of it is aggression. She's never like snapped or done anything out of aggression. It's all playful. But she's a big ass dog now. She's 35 pounds and growing.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
Well, don't let her near the roof.
Gigi Louise.
What I learned this weekend was not all dogs have some kind of self-preservation instinct that tells them to use the window instead of the roof. I realized she defenestrated herself in the most classic sense.
Oh, yeah, out the window, yeah.
Yeah, as she went out the window. It's rare that you can use defenestration. Although, do you have to be thrown for it to be defenestration?
I feel like it. Yeah, I don't think you can
can't self-defenestrate.
You'll go blind. She's
Stop
still
defenestrating yourself.
She's still behind you, by the way, just staring.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
If you just give her like a and like kind of put your hand down, will she come?
Hey, Gigi, come here. Come here. See?
Nothing.
Come here, buddy. Hey, come here. Look.
Oh, look, she's coming. Oh, there she just wanted to be invited. She was a vampire. She just wanted to be invited. Now the dogs are kind of nuzzling. Aw. That's all she needed.
I'm telling you that this is why I was supposed to give them back yesterday, but I didn't because I was like, well, I'm going to hang on until Wednesday because despite all of the escapades and other things and, the morning and afternoon walks and the whatever else goes into this, taking care of these guys. I really like having them around. It's
well, I
very
love that
nice.
she. I mean, so yeah, she was standing kind of aloof or alerted, like on a high alert behind you. But all she needed was to be asked to come over, and now she's getting pets, and both dogs are there. Now, I was going to ask you. So, does Becca's parents does Gigi's owners / parents or whatever you call them? Do they know this whole story? Do they want to know this whole story?
I think this might be how Jeff and Darcy are finding out.
Do you think they listen to this show?
I know that Jeff is a pretty regular listener.
Okay.
So this is sorry guys, this is probably how they're learning about this, unless somebody else told them, because I did not tell them at the time. Not because I was worried about it, because again, after it was all over, Gigi was fine. But
will you lose your Gigi privileges?
Well, I don't think so. Again, I don't know where this ranks in terms of like bad babysitting skills.
Yeah, right.
How high it is on the list. I mean, she also could have gotten away and literally never come back. That would have been probably worse. I think.
Yeah.
Like I can't find the dog anymore.
God.
That would be a
even
worse outcome.
Think about that. Now, I do notice also that DJ is vaping behind you. Is that going to be a problem for DJs?
In dog years, she's old enough, and I can't stop her. That's the problem.
And she is a DJ, and it's kind of like a nightclub lifestyle.
Yes, right.
Hello and welcome to Top Story.
All right, let's see here. Oh, let's talk Wordle for a moment, which really is more your
good. I have a question.
bailiwick. Did I use that term properly?
I think
or that
so,
word?
Yeah.
Bailiwick. That just kind of means like area of expertise or
Or
whatever. Did
interest,
you happen
yeah.
to see this New York Times thing that I sent you last week about this? Apparently, so this is an article from Tony Monkovich, Eve Washington, and Tom Jarrett Kanan. It took 3 New York Times reporters, Andrew, to write this article
about the New York Times.
Wordle's hard mode is actually easier. 730.
Oh, you know why it's got a
games
3-person byline? Because these are the data people, right? This is like a data project of
the
theirs.
upshot.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And again, there's some stuff about this that I don't really understand as a non-Wordle player. I mean, I've played it a few times. But reading from the piece, Wordle is a simple game in many respects. The vast majority of users play using the default settings, where you can guess any letter on any turn. But a smaller slice of players, you may be one, choose to play in hard mode, which adds a major constraint. Any revealed hints must be used in subsequent guesses. If letters turn yellow and green, you're forced to use them in your next guess. So you might think that hard mode is harder. It says so in the name, but as Wordle turns 5, an analysis of 730 million games from the last, how many of those were you? 700 million of those? 30 million games from the last year says the opposite. Players in hard mode solve in fewer turns on average. So they're saying that even if they're saying that playing the hard mode, actually the people doing that tend to solve faster than the people using standard mode. Then they go into like a bunch of different theories and explanations. I still thought, my sense was, and they kind of addressed this, I think, in an unsatisfactory way for me. I just think that the people playing in hard mode are just more elite Wordle players.
No,
it's
right.
not that.
In fact, we talked about, you got to adjust your camera a little bit. I'm seeing like half your face. Thank you.
It's kind of nice
from all of our dog
I was trying to put. I had the DJ cam going.
Is that way? Oh, I see. Yeah. You're keeping that trained on her. No, that is very sweet. But also, it was like I was seeing like just the comedy half of the wait. Is the comedy
tragedy or the comedy?
Is the comedy tragedy mask one mask where it's distorted?
No,
in the middle?
it's two masks.
All right, forget everything I said. I'll cut it out. I'll beep it.
You're thinking more Two-Face from Batman.
Yes, I was thinking more about Two-Face from Batman. Exactly. So I believe I explained
They're Aaron Eckhart fans. So sorry that I start talking about that character.
Or don't you think it's interesting that? Okay. This is gonna make. I already know that we're gonna make Sklarov mad because I'm gonna say something really stupid in here. But
about the Marvel universe.
Well, this is DC. Okay, that's 1 point for me. But Aaron Eckhart plays Two-Face, right, in one of the rebooted Batman movies. But Two-Face is actually, who was he before he was Two-Face?
Harvey Dent?
Harvey Dent, exactly. And Harvey Dent was played
originally Billy D. Williams.
Billy
right?
D. Williams. Yeah, wouldn't
That's
it have been
one of
cool?
your favorite quotes from the original movie.
Exactly. Wouldn't it have been cool to see Billy? Thank you for filling in all the gaps of this sentence that I started. That I was like Gigi out on the roof there.
So let me open a window and let you climb back into this conversation.
Right. Exactly. So I was first of all, I guess it would have been cool to see Billy D. Williams.
Yes.
Actually play Two-Face, but I mean, I understand a lot of time had passed there.
Yeah.
But I'm also looking to see if I can find. Here it is.
Because something happens because basically
I'm a man of few words, but those words will count, and so will my action.
I like to see that I also compressed the shit out of it too. That's great. Good job, Andrew.
There's
from
something
2012.
about certain people in certain movies, the lines that really tickle you. That it tickles me because it's like the Dupin. It's kind of like LL Cool J and Toys or whatever. Like, I love the things that for whatever reason you get kind of mildly obsessed with.
Remember didn't you and I, like when we worked at Cairo, we really were not on the same page with the baseball tape from News Radio that I used all the time.
But I now use it
the crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd.
Baseball's back, Phil Hartman.
Baseball's back.
I'm too lazy to go find more baseball tape. Wow, D.
Oh my God, I thought you were playing a drop. That's DJ.
Hey, DJ, come here, buddy. It's all right. She sees my neighbor walking around, and she's activated now.
Okay, I'm gonna push on through if you don't mind, and because I have some stuff on Wordle I want to say. This makes sense. I think that you and I talked about this because I think I explained hard mode to you on the show. I don't know, sometime earlier this year. And it does give you those restraints. And I know that this can get a little bit tedious, but if people will follow along with me, if you're unfamiliar with the game, you have 6 chances just to guess what 5-letter word is there, and it's totally blank. You have no clue. So your first clue is just, I don't know, start with any 5-letter word, and then you can sort of see, oh, okay, some of these letters are in the word and they're in the right place. Some of these letters are in the word, but you didn't place them in the right place, and some of them aren't in the word at all. And then you have to start puzzling it out from there through the process of elimination. You enter another word, et cetera, et cetera. And on hard mode, it kind of prevents you from recreating some of the same mistakes, but not all of them. It's not even as strict, I think, as it should be. Because if
you play in hard mode?
I do, yes. And so
because Becca doesn't, and she's another Wordle devotee, and she's for some reason doesn't play hard mode.
And I think it might be because of this, because in a certain way, hard mode, I think, is actually a bit of a crutch. It's a little bit like, and again, I play in hard mode, but I think it's a misnomer to call it hard mode. It's almost like bowling with the gutters filled in, with the bumpers, or whatever.
Up,
because what it does is it says, let's say that you put in a word and you got an E and it's in the right place.
Okay.
And it's green. You're like, okay, well, I know there's an E that's green right there. And then you get an S and it's yellow. And you're like, okay, I know there's an S somewhere in this word, but I didn't put it in the right place. And then the next word you put in is apple. And there's no S in apple, for those who don't know. The machine will be like, no. And yes, I consider it a machine. The machine will be like, no, you didn't use an S. Apple doesn't have an S in it. Like, you can't do that. This is hard mode, buddy. But in a certain way, is that harder, or is that the machine reminding you of a little misstep that you just took? For me, if I do something like that, it's probably because I'm starting to get a little frantic and I didn't even notice that I made a mistake. Other people who are advocates of the easy mode are like, no, it's kind of nice because I'm going crazy. I can't think of a word with an S in it. Let me just eliminate some more letters and then I'll get it the next time or something. Like, sometimes you actually want to put in a word that you know won't be the answer just to eliminate things. And that's what hard mode supposedly takes away from you. But it still allows certain things. You can still put the wrong letter in the same place twice. Like, if you have a yellow E in the third position, you can put the yellow E in the third position again and it doesn't block you from doing that. So it seems a little bit inconsistent with that ruling. But again, it doesn't allow you to make a mistake. I've always felt like the word hard is a bit of a misnomer in there.
Right. They also said players who choose hard mode have an escape hatch. You're allowed to start in hard mode and switch to standard mode during a game.
I didn't know that.
If you sense a trap.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
They found that roughly 0.2% of those in hard mode toggle it off mid-game during a recent 30-day period.
Okay, I have another question for you, and this isn't from the article. It's just Wordle related, and it's something I've been meaning to ask you for a while. But sometimes people play these games a little bit on a delay. You can go back and play the archive. So this is I think it's about a week or more now. But for the second time in my Wordle life, I couldn't complete a Wordle, at least successfully, because I didn't actually know the word. And I want to know if you know this word. Okay, so this is from a couple of weeks or a week ago or something like that. And I didn't get it. I totally busted out. But it wasn't because, I had too many options and I chose the wrong ones. I just didn't know that ovate is a word.
Oh, no. I would never.
What does it mean?
Is that the verb of basically to be giving an ovation?
That's what Genevieve thought it meant, because she's like, this word. It's just a weird. When I was like trying to figure it out, I said,
I hate it when they make
word?
me ovate to get them to come back out and play their last song. Just play your best song at the end of the set. Don't make me ovate.
Yeah, that's what Genevieve's like. This word. It's just a different form of it. But no, that's not. It means egg shaped. I think the sister word would be like
that.
I'll bet you it's like ovulation, right? It's like ovate is probably like egg, and so, but no, I've never heard the word ovate before. And so I don't know, in a certain way, now this has happened to me twice where I can't remember what the other one was. But I was like, I couldn't have gotten this except for just mashing together a bunch of letters. And now that it's happened twice, it's changed the way I play Wordle, because now sometimes I get frustrated and I just start putting in things that maybe could be words that I don't know.
I wonder about that. If I know that they officially are allowed to recycle words now because they were running out.
Mm-hmm.
But I wonder if it'll eventually become. We were talking about this the other day with somebody about how if you high level Scrabble, like the highest levels of competitive Scrabble are actually kind of very unfun to watch people play, because you're not playing xylophone on triple word score. You're playing a bunch of weird 3-letter words that you've basically memorized the dictionary.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And the same thing with and again, peace and love to people that are into this, but basically what is considered speech and debate now at the highest levels, like in college and stuff, it's called forensics. And it's it's not people having a debate that's interesting. Hey, Gigi, or Deej, it's all right, buddy. They're not having a debate that's like a great oration where people are thinking of a really airtight way to describe something, or it's not like the Lincoln Douglas debates or whatever. It's like the sport, if you will, the competition has evolved into this thing where you just say a bunch of things really, really, like the Micro Machine guy.
Oh, I haven't experienced this.
Have you ever heard this?
No, I know what you're talking about with Scrabble, and spelling bees have sort of always been like that too. It's kind of like, well, do you know the tricks of it or whatever? Maybe that doesn't apply to spelling bees, but I've never heard this in a debate, which is such a different thing because it's so objective.
Right. Well, here, I'm going to just play you
subjective,
something.
I meant subjective.
I'm going to play you something. I'm just playing this unpreviewed off of Facebook, so we'll see how this goes. But this is listed as Dartmouth Forensic Union debates at top speed. So let's just see if this is actually... hold on, guys. Let's get the volume going here. Okay, here we go. No, why would this be muted? Why would this not play for me?
Is it a meta thing? Is it a Facebook or a...
It's
Instagram?
Facebook, but it's showing me. Let me see.
What happens is when you hit, this happens to me all the time, when you hit play on it, it automatically mutes it again. You have to hit play and then try to unmute it as fast as possible.
Oh, I see. Okay, here we go.
Isn't that crazy?
The U.S. Films Mutual Defense Treaty to the defense of the home islands, connection with entrapment. Biden will expand the U.S. RP, MBT, and the SCS rebels 11-9. His administration will be a South trauma on the SCS experts in Washington was likely to deep efforts to include the expand the Pacific and the MBT under Bob Washington position that cannot guarantee the treaty cover that area.
The Dartmouth Forensic Union is... I don't know why they decided to add that in, but you just heard a little clip. That's literally what college debate sounds like.
And that's a winning one? That's stupid.
Yeah, because it's somehow, and we've probably got listeners that know a lot more about this than I do and maybe even participate, but you're trying to pile up as many arguments on your side of the debate as possible.
No.
So the faster that you can say the arguments,
the
more arguments you can get in your limited amount of time, the more points you can score. So it's really a Micro Machines contest now, more so than trying to again, win the debate in what we would think of the more classic sense, which is like you make a more compelling argument than the other person does.
Yeah, right. A Frost-Nixon situation. That's really, I think, that's
it's a bummer. I think
that's a real bummer. Yeah,
not to take anything away from the people who like that, but
that's not convincing anybody of anything. That's
it's
not like
evolved.
The art of. Yeah.
Yeah, it's evolved into something that actually does not serve the purpose of the original idea of having a speech and debate thing. It's like learning how to put arguments together. It's like learning how to appeal to the judges or the audience. It's learning how to structure, what you're saying. And again, because of something, and I forget, there was a whole documentary about this. It's actually really fascinating. There was some change in like the scoring rules 20, 30 years ago, and it just nobody realized what it was going to eventually create.
They're like, we need to speed up the game.
Did you see the Onion?
we need a pitch
Did you see
bump.
the Onion today on Instagram? It said fans now agree baseball is too fast.
I did see that. Yes.
That would just really be the cherry on top once they get all of the pitch clock worked out and they get all the stuff. They're getting the games like down to like under 3 hours consistently, and now people are like, actually, we'd like this to go longer. Please, good.
Speaking of kind of parody accounts or parody publications, you know what came sweetly back into my life over the weekend? McSweeney's. Somebody reposted something on Blue Sky, and I was like, oh, it didn't occur to me that McSweeney's is on Blue Sky, and now I'm getting nice little, this one was... This is pretty good. Clarence, this posted today, appropriately enough, although sorry to even bring up anything that gives people bad feelings, but Clarence Thomas offers an originalist reading of the TGI Fridays menu, and the pull quote here is, "The meaning here is abundantly clear. Thousand Island is not, I repeat, not offered as a salad dressing. Wait, hang on. It's been brought to my attention that a wealthy Thousand Island dressing tycoon is currently cutting a novelty oversized check for me." That's one of the pull quotes from Clarence Thomas doing the originalist reading of the TGI Fridays menu. Anyway, McSweeney's, I missed you. Thank you for coming back into my arms.
I never, like, McSweeney's, I think the thing about McSweeney's for me was, it was like one click too smart for me.
I like that though, right?
Well, I think I like it more now than I used to. Like, in other words, I think I'm more comfortable watching or reading or engaging with things where it's not quite spoon-fed to me. Like, The Onion is like perfectly in my wheelhouse. It's like I understand the comedy. It's very apparent what the comedy is. It's droll, but it's not like so droll. I remember like originally when I first saw McSweeney's, because it was like Timothy McSweeney's Internet Tendency or something like that.
Yeah.
And just kind of like a lot of it was funny, but some of it was more just kind of like meditative or slightly surreal or like, you know what I mean? So it wasn't, whereas if I sit down with an issue of The Onion, I'm pretty much laughing at almost every headline because again, that's just like, it's uncomplicated for me the way the humor is being doled out. But then with McSweeney's, I kind of didn't get some of it. So,
and McSweeney's, even, I know this sounds very superficial, but even the way it's presented, like it's presented with like a font and everything that almost seems more like it's more of a take on Harper's or something like that, as opposed to kind of the more blunt, straightforward approach of The Onion, which is just sort of like newspaper headlines. But I really like that. And I found one that seems right up your alley, Luke, and it was just from a couple of days ago. This is a McSweeney's article called "Wirecutter Headlines During the Revolutionary War." You're a big Wirecutter guy, I believe.
I am.
How about
the
this?
New York Times consumer review sort of element of the New York Times for people that don't know.
Here's the unfussy telescope we used to monitor Hessian mercenaries during the Battle of Trenton.
That's pretty good.
We love this wrought iron spit for cooking mutton over the hearth. This is real. I won't read them all because me reading other people's jokes is not a recipe for success. Although it might be more of a recipe for success than me telling my own jokes, but I will leave it there. But yeah, check out McSweeney's. If you're like me and you kind of like fell out of that tendency, as you would say, it's there waiting for you.
Yeah, by the way, I wonder too, I mean, this has just got to be a coincidence, but I've just noticed Dave Eggers doing interviews for things. I think he was just on the interview, Wild Card, which Rachel Martin hosts as part of NPR. That is such a genius idea for a show. And I'm such a fan of Rachel's and also a friend of hers in real life. But she's so. Have you watched that show at all?
No, I don't think I knew, or I don't know if I knew that you and Rachel were friends. But no, I don't know about this. But I'm a fan.
She was the newscaster on the Bryant Park Project.
Oh, okay.
And a fellow Northwesterner. She grew up in Idaho, so we bonded over that at our times. And
did she? she's the one who had a beef with Captain Kirk, kind of a public beef.
No,
with Captain.
that's
no.
Andrea Seabrook.
Oh, that's Seabrook. I'm sorry, I'm getting my NPR people confused. Sorry about that.
But so the show is called Wild Card, and it's just perfectly designed for the internet age, but also not in a way that feels, I don't know, gimmicky or something, at least not to me. So what it basically is she's got a series of cards that are, have questions and have prompts. And the person who's being interviewed gets to basically pick a card at random, and then that kind of dictates where the interview is going.
Oh, okay.
But they also, it's as much of a video project as it is an audio project, and they light it really well, and she's in a very nice professional studio, and the guest is often somewhere else, but they're also kind of well lit. They're probably at NPR West in LA or something. So it works really well as both television and radio.
Mm-hmm.
And Rachel is just a masterful interviewer. They very often get into kind of intense topics and things about grief or stuff like that. And she's just really good at holding space for people. And again, I don't think it's meant to be manipulative, but like there will be these moments where the guest is talking about something and it's either something that's really beautiful or something that's really heartbreaking, and they'll just kind of like show that Rachel is like tearing up.
Mm.
And again, not in a performative way, but just in a really human way, just in a kind of like she's just so emotionally available for the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just something that just like, and then of course you'll be unsurprised to hear that I watch it and I'm both impressed and I love it, and I'm also like, just like, I'm 5% jealous. I'm like, this is such a good idea. We used to work together on the Bryant Park project, and now somehow
you're stuck with me.
Now I'm stuck with Andrew.
Did you see that? Did you see that she had Amy Grant on? I'm going through the archive here, and this wasn't too long ago. This was just a month or two ago. Amy Grant has learned not to get hung up on comparisons to her younger self. There are so many, like, these are very clickable. She had Lena Dunham on. Let's see, what's Lena Dunham talking about on the frustration between her and Adam Driver on Girls. So I don't know how they get into that, but like, yeah, I'm scrolling through this. I want to click on all of these. Dave Edgar's was just a couple of weeks ago. John Cena's the most recent.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like what's happened with the show is that it's such a good idea for a show, and it's so well executed by Rachel and the producers that now it's becoming kind of an appointment stop for like the biggest stars that are doing the rounds. I guess
totally
really what it
missed
is.
This. God, I'm out of the loop. I'm literally signing up right now, and that's not like
good.
me. You know me, I kind of get into my little niches and I don't get out of them. But yeah, this is incredible.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan. Speaking of, if I'm just doing recommendations, I have completed listening to the new Serial season, the most recent one, which is called The Last 12 Weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And what it is, I mean, everybody knows Serial, of course. It started out with the story of Adnan Syed and Hae Min Lee being a victim of murder, and the question as to if her boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, Adnan Syed, had done it or not. He was in jail for the crime. And, they've gone through a whole bunch of different topics and stories and things. And this latest one is almost, it sort of harkens back, I guess, to the first season in that it's investigating the case of a guy who's on death row in Texas for some crimes that he claims he did not commit, and he's very close to being executed. And he's had his execution stayed a few times, but now it's down to just like some real Hail Marys for his legal team. And so the Serial reporters are kind of going out with this legal team as they are trying to just like beat the bushes and find anything they can with other eyewitness testimony or people who say he couldn't have been there for this reason or whatever. So it's just a kind of there's a real sort of Damocles hanging over the whole thing, which is they're counting down to like when this guy is going to be potentially executed. So there's a lot of kind of intensity in the show. But what I thought was interesting was it's different than a lot of these ones in that you can kind of tell that the reporters are a little bit suspicious of if the person, like, whereas the whole thing with Serial, and by the way, I've seen a lot of weird, all these years later, I've seen a lot of weird kind of quasi-think pieces on, like, if that first season of Serial that so many people became obsessed with, if the producers of Serial actually kind of sort of, like, were too in the bag for Adnan being innocent in a way. Like, in other words, that whole thing, I think most people got done listening to that series and felt very much like, oh, we have an innocent person who's incarcerated right now. I think that was the big takeaway. And there are not a lot, but there are a handful of people now that are listening back to it going, well, there's a lot of kind of like, feels like the thumb being on the scale. There's a lot of stuff that wasn't included in Serial because it did not kind of help that narrative. In other words, stuff that would have made it look maybe more guilty that this Adnan Syed was part of the crime. He's free right now, by the way, if I understand right.
But awaiting another trial?
Something. It's like perpetually in... Yeah, it's perpetually like could be refiled, isn't being, but might be, but like all
but
that
isn't that? Can I just jump in there and say? I mean, that's always the risk with these things in general, right?
Yes.
Because that's what makes them interesting. Is it has a point of view? Wasn't it? Weren't there similar concerns with Making a Murderer? Like the thing is, like
Yes,
both of
hugely.
these things, both of these, as well as a lot of them, will often the important thing is it is exposing the incompetence of the investigators, which is a very important thing to look at. Whether no matter what the actual truth of the particular crime is, like often it really does expose a very bad system, whether it's just a local system or if it's more of a macro look at our law enforcement systems, but. Aside from that, like you always have people say, yeah, but you, as the documentary filmmakers, you wanted the story to have an arc, like a narrative arc and like pushing for this. And so therefore you have a thesis that you're sort of like trying to argue, not unlike those people talking a mile a minute at Dartmouth.
Yes, but I think that what people are, and it's like there's just no winning, I guess. Like, but like I think the pushback on some of these shows, which again I've consumed all of them, whether it was the first season of Serial or Making a Murderer, which was the Stephen Avery case in Wisconsin, is they're presented as if they are a down the middle documentary where the producers are not thinking about the narrative or not thinking about the point of view. Like there are certain things that when they're presented, that, like, let's just say that the Innocence Project, right, which is an organization that's stated goal is to try to find exculpatory information for people who are on death row and get them freed. If the Innocence Project writes up a report about someone, that their whole point is trying to get the person, who's, and maybe they're not always on death row, but basically the wrongly convicted person out. The thing about some of these sort of quasi-documentary things is that they're presented as if the people making them do not have a point of view and are not trying to advocate. And yet they, of course, do, because we all do. And to make the story better, it's more interesting if you proceed from the perspective that this guy, Stephen Avery, is in jail and shouldn't be in jail.
And just for the record, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying that's always been the problem with these things. I mean, before the whole, boon, before podcasting even existed, and certainly before true crime was kind of a genre, just like generally speaking, great documentary films, whether it's the Fog of War or whatever, like it always has a point of view.
Yeah, it's impossible to make something and not have a point of view, or at least reflect what you end up thinking. And that's why you, as the reporters and the producers, that's why I found this kind of interesting, because I was sort of expecting it to be along the lines of like, this guy's in jail and he probably shouldn't be, and here's all of the exculpatory evidence, and And honestly, the more they get into the crimes, they end up interviewing the guy himself, and you're just like, this guy kind of sucks. It's unclear. It's unclear if he committed the crimes that he's accused of that have him on death row. But there are other crimes that he pled guilty to previous to that are like really messed up. And then like when the reporter gets there like 1 hour with the guy, he's kind of an asshole. Like he's because the reporter wants to understand what the guy in prison, what his explanation of the previous crimes were, because those previous crimes sort of indicate a kind of a person who might be capable of the other crimes. And he doesn't want to talk about him. And he's one of those guys who's got like, it's kind of like everyone's out to get him. And he's just like, well, that isn't really what happened. Or that's not what it's like, instead of owning it, instead of being like, I pled guilty to these crimes because I made some incredibly terrible mistakes when I was 25 years old or whatever. He's kind of trying to sort of dismiss them and stuff. So it was a unique experience, because usually you go into one of these things, and again, the whole idea, particularly if it's created by like public radio, and this was like the Marshall Project in combination with Serial Productions and the New York Times. So you're kind of going into it expecting it to just be this like kind of slightly left-wing do-gooder, we're going to get this guy out. And I give them credit for definitely presenting all of this guy's warts as well.
There is a podcast that sort of reminds me of. I didn't talk about it on this show, but John Ronson, right?
I do.
How would you describe? He makes a lot of audio documentaries. He's huge on the
big
BBC,
on This American Life,
but then became very big on This American Life. And you and I watched. Do you remember sitting in your Not Bellingham. What was it before Bellingham?
Mount Baker, maybe?
No, it was
Port Townsend?
I think it was your Port Townsend house. Remember I spent a week with you when we launched
Yes.
TBTL on American Public Media, and I
We
spent a
took
week
a
with
bunch
you.
of press photos that you hated.
Yeah,
Or was that a different trip?
no, that was the same trip.
Although
Yeah,
the irony is one of them did kind of birth like us in the boat.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, no, that was a
thematic.
good one. Yeah. And anyway, he's done radio documentaries on the BBC for a really long time. And the reason I brought up that trip was he also was the one who reported a story, and I think he ended up writing the screenplay for that movie about the band with the lead singer who would never take off his mask.
Yes, and then they made that into they made it into like a biopic or like
yeah,
they made
you and I
movie.
watched that together,
Yes.
and I remember
Wears
thinking
the
I really
papier-mâché
liked
head.
it. Yes, and it was called Frank is the name of that.
Yes.
I think it was based on a true story.
Ronson story.
But it was a screenplay was by him, and I think it was based. Oh, and it had Michael Fassbender in it too. That's right, because you have the most handsome man in the world is buried beneath a papier-mâché mask the whole time. I remember that stands out because it was one of those movies that I watched. I was living in LA at the time, and I remember watching it in Los Angeles, and kind of like with all the I think I learned about it because it was a segment that I produced, and I was learning, and we interviewed John Ronson about it, and I was in love with it, and then I watched it and really liked it. And then it was one of those movies that I watched a second time with a friend. You were the friend. And the whole time I'm like, oh, shit, I talked this up way too much. This is a little bit weird at times. But anyway, I don't know how.
I think I liked it, though.
Did you? Okay, because I remember just being like, I don't know if this is landing the way I wanted it to.
No. I think I have a positive memory of that movie.
So all of that is to say, John Ronson had a podcast that was kind of famous. Actually, a buddy of ours, I think, was an executive producer on it on Audible back in the day.
Okay.
It was about the porn industry, the modern porn industry.
Yes, I listened to that. It was amazing. It's called the Butterfly Effect.
Yes,
or something?
exactly. And then
it was really, really interesting.
And I remember listening to that when it was relatively new. I remember kind of where I was in my life. I was living in Wallingford or whatever. But I did not realize this. There was a follow-up that came out, I'm going to say within a year or two, that was a very specific story, and it's called The Last Days of August. And that name...
Oh, I listened to that too.
Did you listen to it? If you listen to that podcast, first of all, it's a brilliant name, but it carries so much sadness because because of his reporting, which was, I think, very very fair, but also, kind of exposing what's going on in the modern world vis-a-vis porn and its effect on certain people and what goes on in the industry or whatever. But like, he developed a reputation. People could trust him. People in the industry could trust him to talk about things. Something happened where a porn actor took her own life. And the story about it in the industry and to the people who followed these things was that it was because she had kind of taken a stand about not wanting to be in a movie or in a scene with somebody because he also had sex with men and she didn't feel safe or whatever. And that was seen as a very kind of progressive view. And she spoke out about it. And then a lot of people kind of slapped back at her and said she was homophobic or whatever. And then she ends up taking her own life around this time frame. And so it became this narrative kind of in the industry that she was basically cyberbullied into the end of her life. And John Ronson gets this story and people are talking to him about it, and he was almost kind of like he was the only person who could really dig into this story. And as you would guess with anything like this, it's so much more complicated than that. Like, so much more complicated. And you learn more about August. The reason the actor's name was August, and seeing, it was one of the best podcasts, like one of those kind of short, what would you say, like a podcast that's one season, that's one story, whatever the word for that is. I don't listen to a lot of those. This lived in my head. He's such a good writer. He's such a good reporter. The way he tells stories with kindness, but also unflinchingly is amazing, and I just really recommend it. But the reason I thought of that was you sort of said that this podcast you're listening to, they sit down and you're expecting this guy to be sort of sympathetic, but you're like, ugh, you're not great. Like that's how I felt immediately when you meet August's widower in this.
Yes.
I'm like, ugh, I don't like this guy. I don't like the way he's talking. I don't like the assumptions he's making. And it turns out there's a reason for that. He's not a super sympathetic guy, but at times, you know what? He is. Because you know what? People contain multitudes, and that's what you really see over and over. So if you are interested in anything I said, that one is called The Last Days of August. And again, it's several years old now.
I would start, though, if people, again, I don't know why in the world I think it's a great idea for us to be recommending other audio products for the listeners.
Yeah, right.
As if there's not already too much TBTL every week, Toomgus of TBTL. But I would start with definitely The Butterfly Effect. And then do The Last Days of August. But the other thing I would just say about it is, even though the topic is, adult entertainment or whatever, these are not. It's not a prurient, like podcast. It's not. It's not even about that. It's not meant to be sort of titillating or like. It's. And again, this is the sort of like the incredible ability of John Ronson and the producers of these kinds of things, where it's. The backdrop is this kind of world of this sort of adult material, but really what it is a story about human beings and also about the internet and particularly the butterfly effect.
Yeah.
And so, if you're, this is not something. I mean, now, do you want to listen to it in the car with your kids? No, but
no, because it's going to address adult stuff clearly.
But it's not some just because some people might just hear like it's about the porn industry and just think, oh, it's going to just be like a bunch of gratuitous sexual conversations. That's like absolutely not what these things are. They're just like really interesting kind of studies of human behavior and human dynamics.
Here I go once again with the email. Every week I hope that it's from a female. Oh man, it's not from a female.
All right, emails or emails before we skedaddle?
Yeah, I was all proud. I caught up on our voicemail line. I think it was last week or the week before, but then I felt so good about it that I had been letting him build up again. So I gotta check for newer messages. But this voice memo came in, I think, early last week from a man I like to call David from the basement.
Okay, that rings a bell.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I thought maybe you were gonna play the.
Oh, you want
the I was laying. If anybody was wondering why I was talking weird, I just kind of assumed that we were having a brain meld there. But of course, this is from your brother David, who left us. Oh, there he is. Oh, he's emerging. Here he comes. Oh, look, he's been in there for a while. Oh, now he's just standing there like Gigi,
we forgot
staring
to get him
at
more
me.
water too. That was.
Oh.
That's when's the last time we let him out for a bathroom break?
Oh,
Can you
my
tell
goodness.
that I've got that always on my mind now with these two dogs here? It's like sometimes I'll just be doing something in another room and then I'll be like, oh wait, there's two dogs in the other room and we need to check on them and make sure they've had enough outside time.
I literally had a dream last night about Lucy pooping. Because we feel like she did not go to the bathroom enough yesterday. And, you just get to a point where you're like, wait a second, she still hasn't gone after lunch or whatever. And you're just like, boy, how long is this going to go? And I went to bed thinking, I don't think she ever, like the amount of time and space of my brain that is spent thinking and talking about the digestive system of my dog is incredible. I don't even know who I am anymore. Then I go to sleep and I dream about whether or not she has gone to the bathroom. And by the way, in the dream, she did go to the bathroom and it was quite a lot. Sorry, David. That's a terrible intro to this voice memo that you sent us.
Hey, Luke and Andrew. DFTB checking in here. I wanted to add to the running narrative of like strange coincidences on the show lately, as I'm sure a lot of listeners can relate to. I find myself needing some extra TBTL accompaniment on the weekends when I've kind of like blown through all of my episodes from the week. So I find myself doing a lot of like time banding. Not sure how a lot of people go about choosing their episodes, but I like to like take a given year and then choose an episode that aligns with where we are in the current day. So like I've been listening to episodes from June of 2022, which is kind of fun. One thing that I noticed that was a bizarre coincidence that kind of stopped me in my tracks on this Monday's episode in the current age. You guys opened the show with an SNL sketch with Will Ferrell He's like a morning talk show host, and his teleprompter stops working. He has a total freak out. This is where that bit of audio where he talks about technical times comes from. You use that exact same intro tape on June 15th of 2022. That's 4 years apart. Use the exact same intro tape on June 15th, 2022.
You know what? I can I keep a spreadsheet now so that I don't like reuse intro packages too close in proximity together. Yeah. And so let's see, that would be called like morning show, right? And yes, SNL morning show technical times. There it is, June 15th, 2022. I use that. And then also in September of 2023 and also June 15th, 2026. David, you are absolutely
You don't believe
right.
in a dog.
And you don't believe in a dog.
That was the sound effect, not DJ. Thankfully, we've calmed things down here. What was the thing that happened recently? This is generally a terrible setup.
Because now I'm blanking.
There was something that happened that we were like absolutely shocked by the coincidence of. Somebody will email in and remind us.
Yeah, I can't remember. It wasn't the bingo card thing, right? The fact that we had a bingo card. And
no. Maybe that.
I remember being like, oh my God.
Well, the other thing too is like, I'm always shocked at how, and I don't know if this is, I can't tell if this is sort of a feature or a bug, but like, I do think I've certainly slowed down on grabbing new drops. I mean, I do try to throw in new ones here and there, but like, what I'm always surprised by is if you and I go back and needle drop a show from like almost like 15 years ago, it is shocking to me how many of the drops from that episode
we're still using
are fully in use right now. Like, it's not like we have 10,000 drops that we're kind of spreading it amongst the 10,000. We've got about 100 drops, and then of them we got about 40 that we've been using. Forever.
I'm trying to see that. I here we have to go back to David's voicemail in a moment. Here are some of the most recent drops I pulled. This one I haven't even used yet, and it's actually you.
This person is just talking and talking and talking, and then you think they're done, and then they're talking and talking and talking. It makes me irrationally upset.
I thought that would be a good drop to use in an intro at some point. And then I saw you smile the other day when you heard this in a package. Let's see if I can get this going.
What you been up to lately?
I'm trying to be a better person. I still have a few evil tasks I gotta do, though.
That's a big TikTok thing, right? Don't people use that?
Is that like a is that AI or something?
No, I don't. Not that I know of. I thought you recognized it. I think it's something that has been like kind of floating around TikTok.
It
People
sounds to me like one of
those.
Remember those weird AI babies that would be like hooked up to an IV, but they would be singing like "Bless the Lord, oh my soul."
Right.
Like
they showed a video. I went to Original Sound, and it looked like it was a real kid saying it. So anyway, that's all I'll play of that. Let me go back to your brother here because I think he's got more coincidence. I don't know if it's the one that you and I are trying to think of.
You did on June 15th of 2026. Thought that was kind of crazy. Also, another little tidbit on both episodes, on this past Monday's episode and back in 2022, you guys talked about Stephen Tobolowsky in the first couple minutes, so I found that kind of funny. Anyways, just a couple of little things. Love you guys. What you do is so important. Here's a little thing. On Monday, Luke, you mentioned Keith Urban is from Australia. My question is, has he ever considered changing his name to Keith Outback? All right. Well, how's that for a power out?
Yeah, maybe I should
That's
killed that earlier.
That's actually a much more interesting joke than the one that I've been making.
Well, actually, though, or that I've been making, right? That was actually Tim's joke that I saw. I think that's the coincidence, right? Actually, he did get us there. Is that what we were blown away about? That it wasn't a coincidence that this whole thing started because I didn't remember that I was quoting Tim Heidecker's joke about purposefully bad joke about Keith Urban.
Well, but are you saying that he made the joke? Keith Outback that's new material.
That's
right,
new material, yeah. But I'm just wondering now, is that what was? You asked me what blew our minds recently about.
I don't know if it was
maybe it was something else.
I don't know. Maybe that whole thing is just a big bundle of. Oh, by the way, I think I saw Keith Outback. I saw some kind of like headline popping around that was him Now, I don't know if it was from a reputable source or not because it was on TikTok and it wasn't like the New York Times or something, but it was like a pull quote and it was something about like Keith Urban, like quote, like wishing Nicole Kidman the best or something. End quote. And I was like, buddy, you could have had your new Yacht Rock album promoted on CBS Sunday Morning if you would have been willing to at least say
Just
that much.
Say that, right. And again, probably not even something that you were super thirsty to talk about, but as soon as you start saying, I won't talk about something, it really kind of kills the vibe.
And, you know, with all of the attention around the journalism of CBS these days, I'm glad that even on such a kind of meaningless thing as far as like celebrity divorce goes, we're still drawing the line at like, you don't get to dictate to us the terms of the interview.
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
Which is, again, it's like none of this is very important in the grand scheme of things, but I'm encouraged by that from my bosses that they're holding the line.
I'm trying to do something at the last minute here. I was thinking about all the emails and voicemails that I have sort of seen and like mentally flagged, and then I keep meaning to go back to. And one of these emails is from our friend Levi, who basically said, I know you've been using music that is rights-free at the end of the show. How about I make some for you? And I keep on meaning to go and listen to these things before playing them on the show. But I guess when I let something linger for that long, I end up just playing it on the show without testing it first. So how about we go?
I think that's a pretty good system.
Yeah, but Levi says, let's see, I think he makes this.
This is our friend Levi with Ball of Wax, right? And Jack Straw Studios and all that.
Yeah,
so
and he says,
that's a good character reference. Levi's a musician, an audio engineer, a producer. I have high hopes for this.
Let's see. He sent in 3 songs. I'll just choose one here, and I guess he makes this music under the nom de plume Passenger Pigeon. Says, I make up music with my baritone guitar and looping machine. He says looper, but I said looping machine because I'm calling everything machines these days, apparently. So let's go out with this track of Levi's.
All right. That's going to do it for today's episode. Thanks for listening. We're going to be right back here tomorrow with more Imaginary Radio. So come on by for that. In the meantime, have a great Monday. Take care of yourselves. And please remember, no mountain too tall.
And good luck to all.
Power out.